There was a girl, 15 years old. She was supposed to meet her friend's new boyfriend, and he offered to take her home. And he walked with her, and when they passed the church, he dragged her into the church and he started raping her. She didn't know for how long he raped her. This guy started physically abusing her as well, telling her to shut up. And he closed her mouth and he just continued to brutally rape her. When she looked up, and then on this church was a big cross, and everything happened under this cross, and she looked up and all she could ask that moment was, God, why did you choose me? Out of all these girls, why did you choose me? And she couldn't understand. And he threatened her and he said to her, if she mentions this to anyone, he will kill her. And she got up, she dusted herself off, and she walked. She lived one road away from the church. And when she got home, she stood in front of the door and she couldn't even shout or say anything because she was in shock of what happened. She felt confused. She was angry. She was sad. She had so much mixed emotions going through her. She stood in front of the door and the mother just looked at her, and she looked at the mother, but her heart shouted out, Mother, help me, Mommy, help. And she decided that night that she is going to just make as if nothing happened. Life went on for this girl. She eventually fell into drugs. She fell into Satanism. She got herself mixed up with gangsterism. And the very next year, she went with her friends to a party. And that is where the second incident happened. And this guy just put his jacket on her, and that is how he mocked her and he raped her. And he bragged to his friends. When she said she's going to the police station, they said to her that they will stand with this friend and tell the police that she's lying and she won't win the case. And once again, this girl was silenced. Time went on. She met this guy. And the whole part of the plan was, when she met this guy, was that she wanted this one person to kill her first perpetrator. She thought this guy would protect her. And this guy also started abusing her and abusing her. Physically, emotionally. He would spit in her face and tell her she's ugly, she's worth nothing. He would use her to hide guns. He would use her to smuggle drugs in and outside of Paulsmoor prison for his friends. When he's drugged up and all aggressive, he would just beat her to a pulp. She felt she was trapped. This beautiful girl, she's hitting rock bottom, and eventually she fell pregnant from a third perpetrator. The only thing she was good enough for was for men to do with her what they wanted to do. And life was tough. And she dropped out of school. She had nothing anymore. She didn't have a home. She had nothing. And the most difficult part was where she had to knock and ask around people for food. People would close the door in her face, and it ended up scratching in a bin for food. And she gave birth, and in hospital, his child was born dead. Her mother prayed on this child, and his heart started beating slowly. She asked the mother, take this child because she can't live this life with this child. She gave her son to her mother, and her mother raised the child while she was roaming the streets, because by that time she was a drug addict. Anything she could put into herself to just block out, numb the pain. She was beaten to a pulp, and she basically crawled. And it was that day when she went back to her mother's house and she asked for a place to sleep. And it was that 2 nights that led up to more than 5 years of a place to stay. And it was in the very same week when she got to church, or a church, And they asked anyone want prayer, and she stood up. 10 years later, that girl is me. I'm sitting here through the grace of God. I have no one else to thank but God. I wasn't supposed to sit here. I wasn't supposed to be alive, but it was that moment where my life started changing. When I speak about where God has taken me out, I can tell you one thing, that I would step out of that room and people would remember me and thank me and honor me and tell me, oh, you this strong woman. And then that it's the very same minute or moment I get another opportunity to lift up the name of God. And that is what my life has become. God has opened a door for me to start up an organization where I can help women and children that is suffering from abuse. So that is what I'm currently doing. To the silent sufferers out there, I want to encourage you. Turn to Jesus. Honestly, I'm sitting here as a living testimony. I want to tell you that I was a mess. But when I turned to Christ and I trusted Him in all my ways, your suffering will end immediately. Because when she had the issue of blood, she was smelling. She didn't know what to do. People made fun of her. She didn't know how to feel. But when she touched the hem of God's garment, the Bible says immediately she was healed.